Welcome, everybody. It's so great to be part of our Fediverse track. Thanks again to Johannes, Tommy, and Melanie for organizing. As you can see in my talk, I want to build a bridge from open source to open spaces and talk about why and how the Fediverse is a relevant building block for our future in which we all have access to public interest digital infrastructure. As SFSCon is a free software conference. Of course, the title also could have been from free software to open spaces. I'll come to that in a minute. Yeah, that's me. The face you will hopefully recognize. The other one is my penguin. It's a cocktail robot I built myself for Robo Exotica. Check it out. It's a cocktail festival in Vienna. And on daytimes, as Melanie said, I'm a political scientist, so I will focus on political aspects. I will skip the poll, as Jazz did that with the same graphic. I also, I will skip the quiz. As you can see, it's about open source. And yeah, so my argument is that technology and politics is becoming more and more intertwined, as Tommy also just said in the beginning. And no matter if it's about international law, it's about tariffs or rare earths, we have more and more cases in which technology providers are pressured from politicians, just in the case of the International Criminal Court. Or on the other side, technological oligopoles use political donations to exert their influence on governments. And I want to focus in my talk about the case within the European Union. And in the European Union, we have two dominating debates. The one, of course, Joan also mentioned it before, is the one about digital sovereignty. And the other one is even more interesting because it's about deregulation. So, or in other terms, about simplification. And of course, those are narratives that serve certain interest groups and are not in the interest of others. And I would like to make us aware that we as the public and especially as technology experts should have a really critical view on those narratives and speak out about it. So as solutions for digital sovereignty, if you speak about it on a European level, the most spoke about solution is Eurostake. But then if you have a closer look at it, there are at least 3 different Eurostacks. I don't have time to go into the differentiations, but I would argue that the approach of rebuilding the software with structural problems just to make it European and then everything is solved, I don't take that one. Instead, I argue we should promote public interest digital infrastructure because public interest digital infrastructure actually really addresses the multiple of our current challenges in a real and sustainable way. I'm sorry, I will skip the quiz as well. The point is that right now there's a debate going on in which projects get which funding in the European Union. And the reason for that is that there's the multi-financial framework up to debate, and that's like the budget of the European Union for the next coming years. So right now we need to have this discussion and we need to be loud. So it's exactly this. You saw the logo already. The question is, who sits at the table? So again, it's about political representation. Who sits at the table where public money will be distributed? And I would call that sometimes you have to invite yourself to the table, as I did successfully, and I would call on you to do and try the same thing. One of such upcoming meetings is the so-called European Summit on Digital Sovereignty that was announced after the French-German government consultations this year. The summit will take place in 2 weeks in Berlin, and there are 900 people invited, but mainly politicians and lobbyists. As you can see in the screenshots, civil society and topics like public interest digital infrastructure will not be a topic that will be discussed in the program. But the topic public interest digital infrastructure, of course, is very relevant if you want to reach real digital sovereignty. 150 years ago, when many of our public infrastructure, which we'll still use today, like public transport or water supply infrastructure, was built with public money. And therefore, I would argue that in our 21st century, where the digital space and its network are part of our shared infrastructure, many of you will know this, the rule should be that if public money will be spent, public interest digital infrastructure needs to be funded at least as well, if not as a first priority. I would also like to speak about digital commons. We heard about this concept already before, so I will be very brief. Digital commons refer to shared digital resources such as software, knowledge, data, and cultural content that is collectively produced and governed by a community intended for public use. So again, it's about a community, it's about collaboration, it's about values, and those all fit very well to decentralized social networks like the Fediverse. And just below there, you see just last week, the European Commission announced that there will be a Digital Commons European Digital Infrastructure Consortium. But of course, just to have it is not a sign that it will have relevant input. So, speaking about building blocks for public interest digital infrastructure, that's my favorite of all of my slides. So, because we already have different building blocks of public interest digital infrastructure, and those projects actually need more funding and support so we can establish real choices and digital sovereignty. So for the hardware sections, we have Fairphones. We have Linux as a free operating system. I don't have to tell you anything about free and open software. We have communication systems like Matrix. We have free knowledge infrastructure like all Wikimedia projects. And of course, we have interoperable social networks like the Fediverse, and the list even goes further. So all those different building blocks provide public interest digital infrastructure and serve as existing alternatives for real digital infrastructure and provide autonomous choices by its users. But to address the topic and to present such public interest projects, we need more people and more voices. So therefore, I would like to take this opportunity today here and to speak about 3 ways how everybody of us can support the community in the quest. First, if you have time and personal resources, please get engaged for projects from that list or others. Second, let us exchange ideas and raise demands for free software and free digital social spaces like the Fediverse. And third, please raise your voice and repeat those messages and demands as often as possible. That's really important. Like, we really need to work with repetitions. If we do this and join our forces, then I would argue we have a real chance to be heard for the benefit for all of us and our societies. So in this year, several initiatives raised political demands in the context of the Fediverse for Europe, and especially in Germany, as the Fediverse is very prominent in Germany. So I just want to very briefly give you some examples of such political demands that we will raise for the summit as well, and I would like to help me and the other colleagues to get those demands pushed through. So first, we need money, of course. We need a Fedi fund. Following the example of the German Sovereign Tech Agency, the Fediverse in Germany should be funded with a Fediverse fund of at least 30 million euros per year from the national budget. And besides that, I would also call that European member states should introduce a national digital public welfare tax, because the ones that are existed, for example, like in Austria, they are not used to promote public interest digital infrastructure. Besides money, it's important to support volunteers and civil society organizations that promote and operate Fediverse instances or foster infrastructure on a non-profit basis with legal certainty in order to realize their potential. Now, if you remember only one political demand, this should be it. It's the so-called +1 principle. Public-funded institutions like political bodies, authorities, and administration, universities, libraries, public broadcasting, and other organizations put a lot of money into Instagram, TikTok, and other monopoly platforms. The +1 principle by Ralf Stockmann argues that those institutions shall be obliged to invest at least the same amount of financial and structural resources in the production and distribution of content for these open digital platforms. The argument is the same. With public money, public accountability needs to be put in place. And it would be very nice to see that SFSCon maybe has space in 2026 for maybe a Mastodon and maybe a PeerTube account. In order to get more super interesting content into the Fediverse system, it's also important to call for decentralized, interoperable, cross-sector, multilingual European media platforms. A prototype called Display Europe was funded, but as usual with FOSS projects, prototype funding is not enough, and we need more than just prototype funding. So do yourself a favor, check out Display Europe. You can get news reports there from Central European countries, but translated into your own language. So to come to the end of my talk, to realize the vision of a truly digital commons in the European Union, one that's built on openness, participation, and resilience, we need the active support of public institutions, civil societies, and developers. So please come and join us at our Fediverse booth. Let us win this together, and let us therefore talk and get to know each other, make the most of this window of opportunity, exchange our ideas, be strong together, and as said before, have fun doing it. I wish you all a happy SFSCon.